There are moments in life when a single choice, small, quiet, almost invisible, changes everything. Not all turning points are loud. Not all mistakes come with warnings. Sometimes they begin with something as simple as a sentence. It's fine. I did well. Nothing happened. And just like that, the truth begins to slip away. This is the story of a young man named Daniel, and how one small lie slowly became something much heavier than he ever expected. Daniel was not a troublemaker. He was thoughtful, calm, and carried himself in a way that made people trust him easily. Teachers liked him. Friends respected him. At home, he was the dependable older brother. He lived with his parents and his younger sister Mia. His mother was gentle and encouraging. "Just do your best," she would always say. His father was quieter. He didn't speak much, but when he did, his words mattered. "I believe in you." That sentence stayed with Daniel. But over time, it began to feel less like encouragement and more like expectation. Every evening, the family sat together for dinner. The routine never changed. His father would ask, "How's school?" Daniel would answer, "Good, tests, good. Everything okay?" "Yeah." Short answers, careful answers, because Daniel had learned something. Success brought smiles. Struggle brought silence. And that silence felt heavy. Not angry, not harsh, just disappointing. And Daniel didn't want to feel that. One afternoon, Daniel stood outside his house, staring at a folded piece of paper in his hand. A math test, 52%. The number felt louder than anything else. He imagined walking inside, his father asking questions. That quiet pause at the dinner table. He slipped the paper into his bag. "How was your day?" his mother asked. "Good," he replied. That night, his father asked, "Any tests today?" Daniel hesitated, just for a second. Then said, "No." The lie was small. It didn't echo. It didn't shake the room. It simply existed. The next day, his teacher reminded the class, "Make sure your parents sign your test." Daniel sat at his desk, staring at the paper. 52%. He picked up a pen, paused, then slowly signed his father's name. Not perfect, not exact, but enough. When he handed it in, his teacher barely glanced at it. And just like that, the lie moved forward. Time passed. Another test. Another low grade. This time, Daniel didn't hesitate. He already knew what to do. Hide, sign, move on. What once felt wrong now felt efficient. The discomfort faded. The habit formed. At home, things seemed normal, but something invisible had changed. One evening, Mia sat beside him with her homework. "Can you help me?" Daniel looked at the page. He didn't understand it. But instead of admitting that, he nodded. Yeah, he guessed his way through the answers. Mia frowned slightly. "Are you sure?" Daniel forced a small smile. Yeah, but something inside him tightened. The lie wasn't just protecting him anymore. It was spreading. One weekend, his father stepped into his room. "I've been noticing something," he said. Daniel looked up. "You've been doing well." A pause. "I'm proud of you." Those words should have felt warm. Instead, they felt heavy, because Daniel understood something his father didn't. That pride was built on something fragile, something untrue. School became harder. Lessons didn't make sense. Concepts slipped past him. Tests kept coming. And each time, Daniel relied on the same solution. A glance to the side, a copied answer, a quiet escape. Each time, it worked. But each time, something else faded. His confidence, because deep down, he knew he wasn't improving. He was pretending. One evening, his father came home early. "Let's take a look at your schoolwork," he said. Daniel's body went still. His bag sat near the table. Inside it everything. Papers, grades, signatures. His father reached for it. Daniel spoke quickly. "I already handled it." His father paused. "Handled what?" "The papers. They're done." Silence. "Show me." The word landed heavily. Daniel slowly handed over the papers, one by one, 52%, 48%, 55%, and signatures that didn't belong. His father looked at them, then at Daniel. No anger. Just one question. Why? Daniel couldn't answer at first. "I didn't want to disappoint you," he finally said. His father took a breath. "You didn't disappoint me because of your grades." A pause. "You disappointed me because you lied." That night, Daniel sat alone in his room. No noise, no distractions, just silence. But this time, it wasn't the same silence he feared before. This silence was different. It was filled with everything he had avoided. Every lie, every shortcut, every moment he chose ease over truth. There was no one to convince, no one to impress, only himself. Days later, the final exam arrived. This was not just another test. Daniel sat in his chair. The paper in front of him, questions he didn't fully understand. The same pressure returned, the same fear, and the same opportunity. No one was watching, no one would know. The choice was right there. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Daniel looked away from everyone else, back at his own paper, back at the truth. And he stayed there. No shortcuts, no lies, just effort. Even if it wasn't enough, he failed. The result was clear, unavoidable. And yet, when he looked at it, something felt different. There was no panic, no need to hide it, just truth. That evening, Daniel sat with his parents. "I failed," he said. No hesitation, no explanation, just honesty. His father looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay." There was no disappointment in his voice, only something quieter, something steadier. Acceptance. Daniel had to start again. He retook the course. This time, things were different. He asked questions even, when it felt uncomfortable. He admitted when he didn't understand. He studied slowly, carefully, honestly. At home, conversations changed. They became more real, less about results, more about effort. One afternoon, Mia sat beside him again. "Can you help me?" Daniel looked at the page, then said, "I don't know this yet." A small pause. "But we can figure it out." And for the first time, that answer felt right. Daniel's story is not about failure. It is about truth. Because dishonesty often begins quietly. It offers comfort, protection, a way out. But over time, it builds something fragile, something that cannot hold weight. Honesty, on the other hand, is heavier at first. It requires facing things as they are. But it builds something real, something strong enough to last. In the end, every choice leaves a mark, not just on outcomes, but on character. Because the real question is never, what will happen if I get caught? The real question is, what happens to me if I continue? And the answer is always the same. Truth may be difficult, but it is the only thing that sets things right.